Your past is data, not destiny. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something with you that came from a conversation I had recently with LaShanda McHenry, a woman whose wisdom stopped me in my tracks and made me rethink everything I thought I knew about resilience, healing, and what it really means to step into your soft girl era. LaShanda is out here changing lives, helping people rewrite their stories, and reminding us all that we are not the sum of our worst days or our hardest seasons. She's a guide, a disruptor, and a truth teller who refuses to let anyone stay stuck in survival mode when they were built for so much more. LaShanda reminded me, and I hope she reminds you too, that the hardest part of letting go isn't the past itself. It's the story we keep telling ourselves about what the past means for our future. So let me ask you something. How many times have you narrated your life in past tense? How many times have you said, because of what happened to me, I can't, or I'm like this because of how I grew up, or I'll never be able to do that because of where I came from? And listen, I'm not here to tell you your pain wasn't real. I'm not here to gaslight you into pretending your childhood was easy or that the trauma didn't leave marks. But I am here with all the love and all the spice to tell you this. Your past is data, not a destiny. Let me say that again, slower this time because I need you to feel it. Your past is data, not a destiny. Everything you've been through up until this moment, all the pain, the mistakes, the survival, the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the mornings you woke up and had to keep going even though you didn't want to, all of that is information. It's evidence of your strength. It's proof that you're still here, but it is not. And I repeat, it is not a life sentence. It does not get to write the rest of your story unless you let it. LaShanda shared something with me during our conversation that I can't stop thinking about. She said that resilience isn't a one time comeback. It's not this big dramatic moment where you rise from the ashes and then you're good forever. No, resilience is a daily decision. It's waking up on the hard days, the days when you feel like that kid who had it really rough, the days when you want to give up and choosing to try anyway. The power, she said, is in the daily try, not the perfect image. And sis, if that doesn't preach, because we've been sold this lie that healing is linear, that once you do the work, read the books, go to therapy, set the boundaries, you arrive. You get your certificate of completion in trauma recovery, and you're done. But that's not how this works. Healing is messy, it's repetitive. Some days you feel like you've made it, and other days you're back in that same old pattern, wondering if anything ever really changed. And on those days, the ones where it feels like you're failing, I need you to remember this. Showing up again, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when you don't see the results yet, that is resilience. That is the work. That daily try is everything. Now, let me tell you about some people who live this truth because I want you to see what's possible when you stop letting your past run the show. First, there's Carla Walker Miller. Carla became a wife and a mother as a teenager in Detroit. She had limited resources, big responsibilities, and a world that told her she'd already peaked. Teen mom, black woman, Detroit. The narrative was written for her before she even got a chance to hold the pen. But Carla didn't accept that script. She worked in corporate America, dealt with all the gender and racial barriers you can imagine, navigating an industry that didn't want her there and certainly didn't expect her to lead. And then she did something wild. She became the founder and CEO of Walker Miller Energy Services, one of the largest Black and woman owned energy efficiency companies in the United States. Let me say that again, one of the largest. Carla took every single thing that was supposed to limit her early motherhood, her Detroit roots, her corporate struggles, and she turned all of that into fuel, not a ceiling, fuel. She built a multi-million-dollar company that focuses on equity-centered energy efficiency, hiring and uplifting people from the same kinds of communities she came from. She didn't just escape her circumstances, she went back and built a ladder for others to climb too. She created jobs. She shifted how utilities and institutions think about energy efficiency in low income and Black communities. She helped rewrite the rules in a field that historically excluded people who look like her. That's what happens when you treat your past as data, not destiny. When you refuse to let where you started dictate where you're going. When you say, I survived that, and now I'm going to use what I learned to build something that changes the game for everyone coming behind me. Then there's Rihanna. Yes, that Rihanna, Robin Rihanna Fenty, grew up in Barbados in a household marked by her father's addiction. There was instability, financial hardship, emotional stress, no generational wealth, no safety net, just a little girl with a big voice trying to survive. She got discovered as a teenager, moved to the US, and stepped into an industry that chews up and spits out young Black women for sport. She dealt with public scrutiny, abusive relationships, objectification, all of it. The world watched her pain play out in real time and turned it into headlines and hashtags. And she could have stayed stuck in that narrative. She could have let the tabloids and the trauma define her forever, but she didn't. Instead, she took ownership of her image, her brand, her future. She launched Fenty Beauty in 2017 with 40 Shades of Foundation, something the beauty industry said wasn't profitable, something they said wouldn't sell, something they refused to do for decades because they didn't believe Black and brown women mattered enough. In its first year, Fenty Beauty made over $550 million. Today, Rihanna is a billionaire, not because she sang her way there, though she did that too, but because she built businesses designed around inclusion, around the people the world told her didn't matter. She used her pain, her exclusion, her survival as a roadmap for what not to fear when building her empire. She turned her past into power, and she's still out here rewriting the rules. She became the first woman of color to lead a fashion house under LVMH. She forced the global beauty industry to expand shade ranges and take Black and brown consumers seriously. She normalized seeing darker skin tones, varied body types, and marginalized identities centered in mainstream beauty and lingerie campaigns. She didn't just make it, she changed the entire landscape so others could make it too. And then there's Marcus Bullock. Marcus was incarcerated at 15 years old. 15? He was sentenced to 8 years in an adult maximum security prison. When he got out, society handed him a scarlet letter and said, good luck, but also you're done. He had a record, limited job options, and a world that wanted to keep punishing him forever. But Marcus had something else. He had a memory of his mother sending him letters while he was locked up, letters that reminded him he was still loved, still human, still worth fighting for. Those letters became his lifeline. They were proof that someone on the outside believed in him when the system had already written him off. So when he came home and the world kept slamming doors in his face, he built his own door. He founded Flickshop, a tech company that helps families stay connected to their incarcerated loved ones by turning messages and photos into postcards that get mailed to prisons. Today, Flickshop is used in all 50 states. Marcus became a TED speaker, an advocate for criminal justice reform, and an employer who hires returning citizens, giving people with records the dignity and opportunity society tried to deny them. He took the lowest point of his life, the thing that was supposed to end his story, and turned it into a movement that rehumanized thousands of people. He helped families stay connected, which research shows lowers recidivism and improves reentry outcomes. He challenged the narrative that a prison record is the end of one's professional story, particularly for Black men. Carla, Rihanna, Marcus, three different people, three different pasts, but one shared truth. They refused to let where they came from dictate where they were going. And sis, that's what I need you to hear today. You are allowed to want and create more than what you've survived. Being a Black woman who's been through it does not mean you have to stay in survival mode forever. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to receive support. You are allowed to build wealth. You are allowed to pivot. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to design a future that looks nothing like where you started. Because here's the thing, survival mode kept you alive, it got you through, but it was never meant to be your permanent address. And if you're listening to this right now and you're exhausted, if you're tired of being the strong one, the one everyone leans on, the one who never gets to fall apart, I want you to know that your soft girl era is not about becoming weak. It's about becoming whole. It's about releasing the cape, redefining what strength even means, and protecting your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. LaShanda reminded me that we are all still here because we try every single day. And that trying, that daily decision to show up for yourself, even when it's hard, that's where the magic is. That's where the transformation happens, not in the arrival, in the trying. So here's what I'm going to leave you with today. Not as a nice closing thought, but as a challenge, as a disruption, as a demand. Stop waiting for permission to rewrite your story. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you've healed enough, survived enough, proved enough to deserve softness. You don't need anyone's approval to step into your soft girl era. You don't need a degree in trauma recovery or a perfectly curated highlight reel to start choosing yourself. I want you to do three things this week, not eventually, not when you feel ready, this week. First, stop narrating your life in past tense. Notice every single time you say, because of what happened to me, I can't, and replace it with, because of what I've survived, I'm equipped to. That shift, that one little reframe, changes everything. It takes your pain and turns it into preparation. It takes your trauma and turns it into training. You are not broken. You are battle tested. And there is a massive difference. Second, choose one area of your life, money, relationships, career, wellness, where you've been repeating an old pattern, and commit to one small concrete action this week that reflects the future you want, not the past you had. Just one. You don't have to overhaul your whole life today. Just take one step in a new direction. Send that email, make that call, set that boundary, say that no. Whatever it is, do it scared, do it tired, do it messy, but do it. And third, ask for one kind of support you've been too proud, too scared, or too strong to request. Maybe that's a mentor, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's a coach, a co founder, or just a trusted friend who can hold space for you. You don't have to do this alone. You were never supposed to. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud: your past is not your prophecy, your trauma is not your identity, and your survival is not your ceiling. It's your foundation. It's the proof that you can handle hard things. It's the evidence that you are stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you ever gave yourself credit for. You are not your mistakes. You are not the hard things that happened to you when you were too young to protect yourself. You are the person who survived all of that and is still here, still trying, still dreaming, still worthy of every soft, joyful, abundant thing this life has to offer. So I'm going to ask you one more time. What story are you going to tell yourself about your past? Is it going to be the story that keeps you stuck, or is it going to be the story that sets you free? Your past is data, not a destiny. Resilience is a daily decision, not a one time comeback. And you are allowed to want and create more than what you've survived. Now go out there and build the future you deserve, not the one your past tried to write for you, the one you're brave enough to write for yourself.